Welcome to winter. I've got more layers on than an onion. Today's show is all about the birds, and the reason that we're attracting birds this time of the year is we want them to set up this foraging route where they're feeding. Right now they're eating seeds, but when we get to the spring and they need food for their babies, they're going to go and hunt in the garden. They're going to look for bugs. They're going to feed those babies tons of bugs and help us garden. The first thing we're going to talk about is what to feed them. One of the most important things is to use good seed when feeding the birds. I've been using this stuff from Kohl's for over a decade, and again, I want to give the birds the best thing that I can. We've got all sorts of different stuff here. Black oil sunflower seeds are probably the most common feed that are used for the birds, but there's lots of other things. I feed a lot of black oil sunflower seed, but I love all these blends. This Finch Friends blend, if you look at that closely, you can see that's all the sunflowers that are already hulled. And so no waste at all. You know, when they take this sunflower, they got to crack it open, and then they're looking for the heart. And so we're using the best things we can to feed them. But another thing besides the seed, we're using different suet products. These are suet cakes, and it's basically fat that gives the birds instant energy. And the other thing I love are these little suet kibbles. That's just suet in another form. The next thing we need to talk about after we get good food for our birds is they need water too. And how are they going to get water during the winter? I'll show you. Well, today I'd rather be sitting around the fire than sitting around the fountain, but this is how I'm keeping ice off at least part of this fountain. It's just this little heater here, and it's made especially for bird baths, fountains, any place you've got water. You got to keep the water soft for the birds. And on the other side here is a sun porch. We can watch the birds come in here to drink, and believe it or not, the squirrels will drink here too. Very easy and safe. Well, the birds are going to love this suet, that's for sure. A lot of times a feeder will have a little spot like this where you can put it in there. Now, the other thing the birds need is a place to stage and take a look at the feeder before they come, and that's what these hemlocks are providing here. So when you're thinking about where you want to put a feeder, put it by an evergreen, but you've got to have at least 10 feet between the feeder and the trees, and that's dealing with the squirrels. We'll talk a little bit about the squirrels in a minute, but I'm going to add some suet kibbles to this one. With the cover, the birds can come, get what they want, go back, and keep returning for something yummy to eat. They're going to love this. So let's talk about squirrels. They will destroy a feeder. At first they'll start feeding on it, they'll say, oh, this is great, oh, I love helping the squirrels, blah, blah, blah. Then there'll be nothing left, and they'll say, well, where is everything? And boom. So to keep the squirrels out, one thing, this Kohl's feeder has a baffle right up here to stop them. I'm using a baffle up here where it's just ductwork that you get from the hardware store. The squirrels can't get around it. That works great. But if you don't have a barrier, if you want something close to the house, these hot meats are basically the hearts of sunflower seeds, but they've been treated with hot pepper. And so the birds can't taste hot pepper. The squirrels won't even want to try it. They'll just sniff it and they'll say, oh, maybe they'll eat one and they'll say, I don't want this anymore. And so when I want something close to the house or without a baffle, I'm using the hot meats, and that's right behind you. One thing I love about these Kohl's feeders, again, you get what you pay for. Look at how easy that is to clean, and you've got to keep them clean. You don't want the birds to be at risk, and so to get that old feed, it'll get wet and stuff. We just pull the bottom out, and I'm going to fill this guy up and this guy up with some hot meats, and we'll be able to watch the birds really close to the house. And Max, you're not going to want any of this. It's hot. As you can see, the birds love the hot meats, even chickens. All right, that's going to be fun. Let's finish up. Don't forget, though, the squirrels need to eat too. Just give them their own spot to feed. One of the most wonderful things about feeding the birds is the joy we get out of just watching them and listening to them. Now check me out online. Lots of great gardening information there, and that's also where you can join my Seed of the Month Club. Until next week, time for some hot cocoa. We'll see you then.